Hey guys, welcome back. We have the engine pulled out of the BMW. Today we're going to separate it from the transmission, get it torn down, figure out what happened, and hopefully figure out why it happened. Some common guesses in the comments have been oil starvation, and a lot of people are guessing something to do with timing and valves either being bent or completely gone. Today, we're gonna get answers. The moment we've all been waiting for. I know we're excited, so let's get right into it. We're gonna get back on the engine hoist, get the transmission off, get on our engine stand, and dig right in. All right, engine and tranny separated. Everyone say hi to Keith. This is Keith. All right, hard part's done. Transmission is off. Now we take off this torque converter and the flex plate and we can put it on the engine stand. All right, this is where Keith is my savior here. He's gonna hold the torque converter as I take out this last bolt. Get you a Keith in your life, you know? Out. Torque converter's off. Next, flex plate, and then we get it on the engine stand. And our flex plate's off. Now I think we're gonna do these 4 holes for our engine stand, and then the fun begins. The real fun. Engine's on the engine stand. We have to take off wire harness and accessories. After we take off the wiring harness and the accessories, we're gonna drain the oil. That'll tell us a little bit about what's going on the inside of the engine. After that, take off the oil pan. You can see if we see any failed bearings, any rod bearings there or crankshaft bearings. Then we'll take off the heads. We'll have our full picture. So, wiring and accessories, let's do it. All right. Gloves are back on. I forgot how disgusting this engine was in the span of one day. We got the coil pack harness off. Knock sensors. All right, we're on the other side of the motor now. We're on the hot side. So we're gonna take off the motor mount, turbo, and the water pump. And then I believe it's time to drain the oil. All right, Keith did that one.
I got it. You're not taking
together.
You're not taking my limelight. Okay.
You're just bending it.
Is it? That's not bending. You're bending it. Oh my god.
That's crossed. All right, we officially broke the second or third piece on this car. The first one being the motor mount bolt that snapped. Second one, the coolant line that goes to the turbo. I believe it's the return coolant line. It's so rusted into the turbo that we broke the flange off the hard line rather than the hard line coming off. So just another gift from the Midwest of the USA. Ooh, tool. Nice. Oh, heavy.
Yeah.
Keith pointed out something that I almost forgot. That the turbo, can't really show you, the inlet's too small, but no shaft play. I mean, it's really good. Happy with that. This hose here is the one that broke the flange itself broke off before we could pry it out of the turbo, so we will have to replace that. All right, we got a little bit of a side quest going on here. Trying to get this coolant return line out of the turbo. Actually, that's kind of oh, you got it. Oh.
You said you got it.
Oh.
No, certainly not.
All right, we did get the hose out, albeit in pieces, but that's all right. Cheap hose is way better than a turbo. Back on day 2. We're gonna drain fluids, starting with this front diff here, and then we're gonna drain the oil. You may be wondering why I'm gonna drain the oil with the engine at such an odd angle. Believe it or not, this is how the engine sits inside the car. The oil pan is actually flat on the bottom right now, so this is the angle that I'm draining it at, so everything's collected at the bottom. After fluids, I'll take off the oil pan and we'll take a peek-see from the bottom. After that, we'll go back to the top side, take off valve covers, take off heads, and by then we will definitely have our answer. Let's get rolling. Just gonna quick make sure that this fill plug comes out. If you're doing this in your car, make sure your fill plug comes out before your drain plug, because if you can't get your fill plug out and you drain it, you're in trouble. All right, drain and fill plug going back in, and then we'll drain the oil. Got a big drain pan here and a little one. The little one's open on the top so I can see the fluid. I want to see what this oil looks like. As soon as this is getting a little full, I'll switch to that one. Don't forget to take your cap off. Initial reaction of the oil is it's really old and black, but I don't see any froth and I don't see any metallic shavings. So honestly, not exactly what I expected, but a very good sign. I forgot to show you guys before I cleaned it, but the drain plug didn't have anything on it either. Honestly, the oil looking at the way it does gives me a little hope for this engine. Before, I thought this was going to be full of bearing material, but it's not. So that leads me to believe that we definitely have a top end issue. But still, we're gonna start with the bottom. We're gonna take the front diff off, take the oil pan off and take a little look-see there. This half. All right, I'm gonna turn the motor over. Let's see if we see anything funky or hear anything. All right, what I can tell you so far is I hear a lot of noise from the timing chain. All right, I'm gonna flip the motor back over so we can take the heads off. Oh, nothing's holding on, just me. Oh, look at that. Look, I don't even, oh. Okay, let me get the camera and show you guys what we got. We found it. You see how this one's facing us and that one's facing forward? Came right off. Snap that bolt. So our low compression problem caused by the cam phaser break-in. Cam phaser, cam gear. This does mean a piece of our bolt is in our cam, and we're gonna have to take that apart to see if we can get that out. I don't know how long this engine was sitting, but there is some surface rust buildup on these cam lobes. Well, all I can say is that hopefully when CTA says that their tool is for an N55, I guess there better be more than one N55, because their tool does not work for this one. And it ended up being easier for me to just use their one top piece and an adjustable wrench as a slide hammer to take it out. So that was very disappointing, because it was not a cheap tool. But a little ingenuity and we got it out. So I'm gonna mark our injectors 1 through 6 front to back to match the cylinder that they were in. And I'm gonna have to get them flow tested before I put them back in. I, 1, want to make sure they're good, and 2, I've heard some stories that they break pretty easily. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get all 6 flow tested, and I'll let you know the results on that. Okay, after that disaster, I have the injectors out and numbered in order. Take these out, align our intake cam to TDC, and take our head off. Okay, our crank should be at TDC. Our exhaust cam isn't because it's not hooked up. Let me see if I can turn it with this thing. I don't know. Oh man, that's not good. The cam gear is seized, or not the cam gear, the cam shaft is seized. Oh, maybe that's why the bolt broke. the cam shaft itself seized up, and that's why the bolt broke. Cause like I can move this side easy peasy, but this side, I mean, I'm putting some work into it and it don't move. So we're gonna have to take all of these out, and that explains a little bit more of why that bolt broke. Forgive me. Okay, when I took the cam shaft off, I did it incorrectly. You're supposed to take these springs out first, which obviously you saw I did not. So do not follow my lead there. Definitely do it right. Hopefully I didn't fuck up anything too bad there. I did put the rollers back in so I could take those off correctly and show you that. But yeah, the camshaft. So don't take the camshaft off the way I did. You have to take the springs off first at the top nut or top bolt here. There is a special tool for it. I highly recommend it, or you could strip out the bolt. Don't do what I did. I'm sure you all saw the clip where I could not turn this whatsoever, but I could very easily turn the exhaust side. A couple of the ledges that we ride on here are very, very scored. They're very rough. Like you can see this one, that's pretty shiny, that's pretty smooth. This one you can see is very, very scored, very, very rough. Well, this one's very, very clean. So that one's good, that one's not good. Same with this one, is very, very unhappy. These middle two look like we got some oil starvation, and the camshaft like welded itself to it, or at least scored it up enough that it could not freely turn. So because of the scoring there, because the camshaft couldn't spin freely, that's why our bolt broke. So, like many guessed, it looks like we had some oil starvation issues, which caused the camshaft to seize, which caused that camshaft bolt to break. On top of that, the camshaft seized so much that it broke the cap that was holding it on. One of them, obviously, it scored just as much as the other side. I'm definitely assuming oil starvation issues because these camshaft lobes are rusty. I'm not too sure. It concerns me that our camshaft would be rusty because it means that it'd have to be sitting here without oil for quite some time. Again, please take it off correctly. I know I did not. Do not do what I did there. Okay, so that's how you would have properly taken off the rest if I wouldn't have messed up the camshaft to begin with. Another quick thing is we take a look at my, I believe this is called the eccentric shaft. This spins rough as well. I mean, this is like, I don't know if you can hear it. We will have to change the bearings on this as well. We're gonna leave it on for now and just take the head off. Everything's being a little bit difficult today. I ended up having to chase these threads. I did make sure that these bolts matched the ones in the valve cover, but for some reason, these were not going in the hole, so I just thread chased them and now everything's working out great. So yeah, just, you know, one of those days where it's not going too smooth. But our cam gear's locked in place. I can take this bolt off, I can take our timing chain off, and I can take the head off. Let's do it. And that's what one of these is supposed to look like. No teeth broken, looking good. Whew. Getting a new one of these, that's for sure. Okay, heads off. First impressions is dirty. We got a lot of carbon. Okay, let's turn this motor over without the head and see what it does. Cylinder walls look good. Very, very usable. The pistons and the cylinder walls look fantastic. If our valves are fine on the head, then the repair's looking pretty snazzy. What we do need to find out, I need to find what oil passage goes to the intake cam and make sure it's not clogged. So we'll see where the oil feed is. I might have to look it up, but let's take a look at the head. All right guys, bottom of the head. Looking at the valves, I don't see any issues. I think we got so lucky that the camshaft seized with all of our intake valves either closed or barely open enough that nothing tapped and broke. I mean, this is the dream scenario of some sort of timing failure and not having any lifters damaged. This one here, this is the exhaust lifters. This is just, the cam is still in, the cam is holding these open. The top ones right now are the intake side. And I don't see any damage. They're crusty. They need to be cleaned. But this is best case scenario. This is the camshaft ledge that I was showing you guys before. This is where the camshaft rides. Unfortunately, it's built into the head. If a machine shop cannot save this, I will have to buy a whole new head. Let's assume best case scenario. If I can take this to a machine shop and have my camshaft resurfaced, that it's usable again, and if they can resurface my camshaft ledge and that's usable again, all I'm out right now is camshaft caps and bolt and the camshaft gear bolt. That is best case scenario. Obviously a bunch of gaskets and fluid, there's way more to it. So that's issue number one. Is this head salvageable? If it's not, I need to buy a new head. I need to buy a new camshaft. The easiest solution would to just be a brand new or a remanufactured or maybe even a used complete head from maybe like eBay and just throw it on along with new gaskets and a new timing chain and call it good. I'm gonna do some digging and see if this head is salvageable, if the camshaft is salvageable, and maybe we struck gold. So our valves look good, our cylinder walls look good, the top of our pistons look good. Dirty, but good. The last thing I wanna check is I wanna flip this motor over and check our rod bearings. Oh, that looks so good. Guys, the rod bearings look fantastic. This looks... The crankshaft looks good. The rod bearing looks good. Smooth. Let me try my fingernail. Yeah, I don't catch on anything on this rod bearing. This is nuts. I don't think I could have got any luckier. I mean, this one looks nuts. I'll check one more just to make sure. But My God, if all my valves are good and I just need a camshaft, even a bare head, I checked, is $400 remanufactured. I mean, that's nuts. I'll check one more quick. I mean, even the second one is fantastic. Look at that. That's the cleanest used bearing I've ever seen. Now I'm just putting these back on just hand tight. I know I have to lube up these bearings, and I probably have to replace these bolts. I imagine these are torque to yield bolts, but hand tight so that I don't have to worry about my piston falling out. I don't think it would, but... Well, I don't think that could have gone any better. I mean, okay, there's always a better scenario, but for my cylinder walls, for my piston heads, my rod bearings all look immaculate. For my valves to look usable, if the valves don't seal, I don't see any huge dents in them. I'll clean them up and look again, but if they don't seal, maybe I just have to lap them, right? So for my valves to look good, the bottom end looks fantastic. We just have to figure out why the oil starvation happened to the intake cam in the first place and make sure that that's fixed. 2, we either have to have a machine shop resurface our cam and our ledge so that the head is usable and the camshaft is usable. If that doesn't happen, then we have to buy a new head and a new camshaft. And then regardless of whether the head's usable or not, we need a bunch of gaskets to stop all of the oil leaks that happened, a bunch of new bolts. A lot of bolts are torqued to yield so that when you torque them the first time, they're stretched and you have to buy a new bolt. So we're gonna buy all new bolts for whatever is necessary. And we're looking good. I just flabbergasted that our intake cam seized in the perfect position for all of the intake valves to be slightly open, closed, in a non-interference position. It's nuts to me. I also have a very big mess to clean. I have all of my tools out, from pulling the engine to tearing the engine apart. My shop is a disaster. On that note, my cleaning situation is not your problem. I appreciate you for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, comment. It helps the algorithm, it helps me. I really appreciate you guys. I try to respond to everybody. I think so far I've been able to do that. I like the conversations we're having. So again, I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one.